Hello everyone, welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. You are looking at the Singer Bentwood carry case. You're looking at the top of the case. I've been making videos. I never know, sometimes you can just keep making videos because you have so many different things to talk about, apparently. And I thought I'd just mention to you guys a couple of things I want to do before I get ready to do anything in terms of the finish of one of these. Now, there are different ways you can go here. You guys have seen me in the past. I have applied products like Restore Finish and the Feed and Wax furniture polish afterwards. That's one way to go. Another way to go is to try to apply a new clear finish. You guys have seen me use, with varying degrees of success, shellac. You can still buy shellac. Shellac is going to be the same, if not pretty darn close to the original finishes that were used on things like Singer tables, a lot of the furniture, and of course the sewing machines themselves, their clear coats were often shellac. Shellac and lacquer are often used synonymously, and they're not, but they're cousin finishes. They are very similar in terms of their chemistry, but they are different. But the purpose of talking about them today is that shellac is the closest thing you can buy as a consumer to lacquer. Lacquer is rarely used even in industrial finishes anymore. It is gorgeous, but it has been replaced by a lot of acrylic varnishes as well as urethane varnishes. I don't like urethane for a whole host of reasons, and I'll have to talk about that in a different video. But I want to get back to as close as I can to what was originally here. So you think, okay, well, which one do I use? Because you don't want to use both. A lot of times when you're doing wood finishing and you apply something like a stain, when the stain has dried, the stain contains oils, but it has a lot of solvent and it has pigments in it. Well, the Restore Finish instructions specifically say, do not put polyurethane, and I believe they mean any varnish, on the top of this. Right? When you put Restore Finish on something, yes, it gives color. Yes, it has solvent, but I think it has more oils in it. And I'm guessing at this because it's a very oily finish, more so than even stains are, traditional stains. Because this is not technically a stain. It has stain in it, but it is it does a number of things. So you think, well, how do you know? Why would you pick one over the other? For me, it's a little subjective, but it depends on the condition. If I have something that has gorgeous color, but its finish is a little rough, and you can see here, if you guys can see here, what you're looking at in these little splotchy areas, you're looking at the remnants of the old shellac or lacquer because most of it has degraded. Okay, it's simply oxidized and worn away. Polishing it would have helped to preserve it, but whoever owned this before didn't. Who knows the life it's had? You never know when you get something that is new to you. But one of the things I'm looking at here is also I see some areas where the color is not very even, and this could have been from sunlight fading, who knows. And the wood is also fairly brittle, right? We can see some splits in it here. Remember I told you guys that wood is a lot like your skin. It can dry out and it gets less flexible over time because wood has oils in it naturally when it's fresh, and then as it ages, and it takes many years for this to happen, but the oils dissipate and the wood will begin to get very brittle, and you can easily crack these. And plus this is a veneer over a base, a wooden base anyway, so it's extra delicate. So if I chose to put shellac on here, it would improve its appearance. It would make it glisten. I'd need more than one coat, but it would make it glisten, but I don't know that it would necessarily help me with this sort of discoloration in the stain. Putting shellac can help redissolve some of the old lacquer finish, which that can be useful. But because this is so dry, it's bone dry and brittle, I'm going to go back with the same technique I've used on my other the Singer that I had a Singer 15 that was in a case similar to this. It's since been found a new home, but for this one I'm going to go with my Restore Finish and Feed and Wax option. But before I do, I wanted to show you guys this, because whenever you have anything, and it doesn't have to be a sewing case, it could be a piece of furniture, anything, whether you're going to paint it or in this case we're staining and polishing it, do not get in such a hurry that you forget to clean this, okay? And I'm not cleaning it with any liquids at all, just a brush, because dust and who knows what can get settled on any object. And you guys know, if you look at the back of a can of house paint, you're going to paint particularly in trim areas, any area that collects dust. What do they say? They say make sure it is clean and dust free, because if you don't, you end up with a mess and things don't stick. In the case of here, what can often happen is if you don't remove the dust, it gets sort of matted down into sort of a muddy, yucky material. And unfortunately, dust holds organic debris that breeds mold, and you don't want that, and you don't want to lock it in, right? So look right down in here even, right? Sometimes you'll see what looks like a gray line, and it's dust. And if you go in and go ahead and start putting stain on it, you're locking all that crud in there. You don't need to do that. It takes very little time. So I'm just going to take this brush and just brush the dust off. Now you can also vacuum this, but you want to make sure that your vacuum has a dust attachment to it, right? I didn't bother to break the vacuum out for this piece because it doesn't have any hard to get areas. I can pretty much just get to every area I need to here to get the dust off. And particularly down here, like I say, in the grooves, so I'm just cleaning off. This is just dust that has settled. We have good filters in our furnace here, but still, you can't eliminate all dust. It's just the way it is. And that's why many of you have dust covers for your machines, because you don't want to have to deal with cleaning those. This is not as bad. It's not as intricate to clean. So you can see I'm basically, come down the sides, do the same thing. You may not even be able to see a layer of dust, depending on how good your vision is. But wipe it down anyway, because you will end up with stuff. I promise you, right? And make sure whatever you're using doesn't have any hard or sharp edges, because this is a very delicate. This is an old cover. We want to be gentle with it. And underneath, not seeing anything of any import here dust-wise. So, now that we've done that, this this procedure is a little simpler than if we were going to need to prep this for the shellac, right? Because the shellac process involves thin coats and thicker coats. It's more involved. Shellac is awesome though, and I'll do a video one day on the shellac that I use and the technique I use, and I'll mention what I love about it. Don't think at all I'm down on shellac, but again, I want this to have a very nice evenness to its color. And I'm using, the last one I did the cherry, this one I'll use the walnut cover. This is not the dark walnut. The dark walnut looks a lot more like kind of a deep ebony brown. But one of the reasons I'm going to show this to you guys is because it's fun to watch this product. I have used this product. Sometimes I was overly optimistic and expected a little too much of it, and it let me down, but that was more my expectations. If you use this product the way it's designed to be used, it is amazing what it will do. Okay, watch this. And I'm being gentle. I don't want to destroy what's left of the old shellac. I know it's dried and brittle and it's flaky, but if whatever's stuck on there, I'm leaving. Okay, I'm conserving, not stripping and refinishing. Now, when you first do this, you might think, well, sure, anytime you put on something like this, it's going to look deeper and richer just because it's wet. But what about when it dries? Well, this is an oil. This is not a water-based product. So it's going to retain a lot of this depth of color, and we're getting a lot closer to what it would have looked like new, although wood itself will shift in color as it ages, right? And I'm not really, I'm just taking just cotton, old rag here, and applying it. Now, I'm going to be extra careful around my decals, right? If we know that most of the shellac or lacquer, whichever this is gone off the wood, it's also gone off of the decals, and the decals were applied before the clear coat. So be extra careful, guys. You don't want to lose that beautiful Singer emblem, right? Notice I'm just doing more of a blotting here. And what I may do is, because putting this color on top of the decal is of no use, I'm actually going to avoid the letters but then we're gonna use and you get one guess what I'm going to use, or two guesses. We could use an artist brush if we wanted, but I really like the cotton swabs. Again, cotton swabs are, like the Swiss Army knife of the sewing machine restoration toolbox, I guess, because I use those more than anything, I think. So I'll do that. I'll come back with a and I may need that anyway. But look at the difference, guys. I mean, it's dramatic, right? Now, you're still going to see when this dries, and even after, once it's, I say once it's dried, it's actually not going to dry like a stain does. As soon as we finish getting this on, we're going to wipe it down. According to the folks at Howard's who produce this product, they have that direction for a reason. Always read the directions, because the people who make this stuff, they may not know everything, but they know a lot more than you or I about the product. So let's defer to the directions they want to give us, right? They're trying to be helpful. And again, they're the ones who created the product, so you want to check with them first, okay? And so I'm just, again, coming across here, being, and again, if a piece of the old lacquer or shellac comes off, don't worry, it's fine. What I'm hoping for here is that I'm going to get some evenness in color. Not only am I getting the gorgeous color back from the wood that it originally had, but I like this product because it's not adding a very heavy, dense stain. Because with staining wood, the more coats you put on, the darker it gets. And this will have that effect too, but it's not as bad. This product is like a stain, but it's also, I think it's diluted with oils and solvents in a way that's designed to help restore furniture, right? I wouldn't use this product if I had brand new wood and I'm trying to stain it. I want a really good stain for that. But this product is not designed to stain new wood. That's not what it's meant to do. And they don't call it a stain, they call it a finish for that reason. Okay. Now, I'm still okay time-wise. I'm going to come around. We'll go ahead and get the other side, but then we're going to come back, and it's going to be very important that we come back and wipe what's already there, okay? Now, a lot of stains, when you apply them, although, again, this is not a stain, but when you apply stain, you do that. But with a stain, and particularly with raw wood, a lot of times that stain soaks into the wood, and you will sometimes discover that you have to apply more. I don't typically do that. I think maybe on one occasion I've actually gone in and applied more than one coat of this stuff, because it doesn't take as much to create the look you want, because your wood is not totally porous, right? You've got remnants of the old color, the old stain, the old shellac varnish. So these, this is not going to typically take as much. If you've ever stained new wood, my gosh, you can go through stain, quite a bit, because stain, open poured, fresh, unfinished wood will soak up stain amazingly fast, right? Like a sponge almost, depending on the wood, of course. So again, you guys have seen this before, but this case was looking pretty sad, and now it's really. Will it look like it did the day it left the showroom? No, but that's okay, right? This is a vintage piece. I don't expect vintage pieces to look perfect. I expect them to look, that they're stabilized, they're in good shape, they're cared for. You can tell that it's been cared for, right? And you'll see here, there's a little bit more of the original shellac left here, so the color is not getting as dark, because again, shellac, any kind of varnish, whether it's a vintage finish or some of the newer urethanes, they seal wood. That's what they do, and so it's not surprising. If I'm not happy, if you are not happy with the way the color looks on yours, try it like I'm doing first. Just use a rag. Don't go crazy on it. Remember, be gentle with it. It's like 100-year-old skin here. And you can always go back with a 4.0 version of steel wool only. Don't use the coarse wool, but you can use that if you want to. That can be aggressive, and the only downside to that is I have noticed it can either work really well, or that steel wool treatment, it could easily basically create a situation where the color is going underneath the varnish, and it's not going to look all that swell. So again, this is one of those things you have to kind of play it by ear and see how it wants to behave when you start applying it. It's not a there's part science and part art. It's something that you want to be aware of. And then we've got our side. Now our sides are a different angle here. So what am I going to do before I continue on with the sides? First of all, let me show you what I was going to use with the cotton swab. So I've got a cotton swab here, and I think this was the side I originally was talking about. You'll see I couldn't get my rag down in here, but that's not a problem. To get my cotton swab down in my can here, I think I've got about half a can there. There we go. Half a can left. Now, this is really pretty simple. Just come along the bottom here, right? And it may look like it has a stripe right now, but don't let that bother you. You can come back and kind of feather it in, just like this. It's like I say, when it dries, you may not even notice it, but if you're worried, you can do that. Now, I'm going to come back, and I told you guys about, remember the lettering. Let's see how that's going to turn out. Because you need a cotton swab that will let you get down in between the letters without hitting the letters. We don't need to. It's not going to help the letters, and it could actually cause problems. So get a little excess off of there. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm really just, almost as if I were painting with a brush. You can use an artist brush, guys, but artist brushes, depending on the quality of the brush, how thick they are, what they're made from, they sometimes will not hold something as thin as this Restore finish, and they'll dribble. And then you've got, dripping product, dripping liquid, and, again, the goal here is to keep it off of those beautiful gold letters. I don't know if it would hurt them. My concern is mostly that it would go underneath the decals and delaminate them, because there is solvent in this product. So again, just be smart about what have we done? We've accomplished. We've gotten all of the color updated, and the area that does not need. And you can come back with a fresh cotton swab if you made a boo-boo or got somewhere it didn't want to go. I think I just found one spot there. And there you go. So that one is done. So now that that's done, what I mentioned a rag. What you want to do is come back with a rag, because this is what the folks who make this product say. You're not you're not beating it, just lightly, just let it drag over. This is a cotton, part of an old cotton t-shirt, and it will soak up any excess, okay? And you probably won't see any change in the color even. You think, well, where is it all? It'll come off as it needs to, right? Because, and I don't even know if it's showing up here, but there is, like I say, it is soaking up the excess, and that's what you want, guys. You don't want excess product on here, because you might say, well, it's not very strong. It's not a stripper, right? And it's a fairly weak solvent. But again, I tried it one time and left it on there for an afternoon. It wasn't overnight. I think it was on there for 5 or 6 hours. And what had happened was the chemicals had time to work their way underneath and behind some of the old shellac, and it ended up causing a lot of weird sort of color splotchiness. You're always going to have a little bit, but it was very light and very dark, and it really broke my heart. I was like, well, lesson learned, right? And again, over time, it sort of, it kind of feathered itself out. It didn't look as bad over time because it had time to dry out. But again, if you want to save yourself that unhappiness, don't let it sit. Okay, and Howard's, the people that make this stuff, say don't let it sit. So follow their advice. It's not gonna turn really light colored on you. It's not like that, because with stain, if you've ever had to do a wiping stain, you know that stain can create problems, in that you can wipe the stain, maybe you wipe off too much, and depends on the type of wood. That's not really an issue when you're doing something like we're doing here. Okay, let's go back and we'll get the side here done. Beautiful piece of wood that it was, and will look beautiful again. If you want to, you could even cut a piece of wood and try to replace this little piece of veneer here that's gone. If you're restoring something and as part of a collection, or if it's going to go into a museum, that would be a really good idea. What am I doing here? My goal here is to make this case look a lot better, and it's also helping with preservation, because the oils in this Restore Finish product are going to help to feed the wood. Now, they're not feed and wax. Feed and wax does a much better job of that, and we are going to use the feed and wax. And I'm happy because the color is consistent here. But of course, feed and wax is different. I'm going to let this, now that I've, once I wipe everything down and the excess has been taken off, and give this stuff a chance to absorb, by the way, because remember, it's trying to get soaking into the wood past the old shellac finish. But this product has, I don't know if it's teak oil, I don't know what it is, but some kind of oil that helps to get into the wood and help it be less brittle. It's still going to be brittle. I mean, you're not going to be flexing it and bending it. It is old, but this will help to hopefully prevent cracking, which is really, if you think about it, that's why furniture polish was often invented for pieces of furniture that did not, I repeat, did not have the polyurethane. Polyurethane is a different animal. It's a sort of a plastic-like finish, and it will, furniture polishes don't typically penetrate, let's wipe the excess off here. They don't typically penetrate the polyurethane layers, and that's one of the reasons I'm not a fan of them, and they're hard to get off. If you ever strip polyurethane, you won't ever forget it. So there you go. Much better, right? Now, once this dries and I've wiped off the excess, I will go back. I don't remember what Howard says about the Restore Finish, how long you should let it sit before you put feed and wax on it. I'll have to go back and check. But what I'll do is I'll come back and do a feed and wax on it, and then you'll see it'll have a little bit more glistening to it, and it'll be done. It'll be ready. I'll be doing the base, of course. I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the base here, base frame, and then it'll be ready to install my soon-to-be, almost ready to be ready, Singer 201, my last overhaul of the year, and couldn't think of a better machine to end the year on than the 201. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Like I say, sometimes I get an opportunity. I'm working on something. I'm thinking, well, why don't I tape this? Maybe you guys have something like this. Maybe yours looks gorgeous. Some of them survived that way, but I'm surprised any of these survived at all, to be honest. But again, just testament to the quality once upon a time. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time.